tiempo que deseaba hablarte para saber algo de ti y sin querer estás aquí, ven junto a mí, ven junto a mí. Cierra los ojos y juntitos recordemos aquellos días de feliz año pasado, cuando tocábamos el cielo con las manos, tu enamorada, tu enamorado, cuando tu cuerpo con mi amor se alimentaba, cuando el invierno era nuestra primavera, cuando reías y también cuando llorabas, como te amabas, como te amabas. ¿Qué tal, mi amor? Qué sorpresa la de encontrarte. ¿Cómo te va? Hace tiempo que deseaba hablarte para saber algo de ti y sin querer estás aquí, junto a mí, ven junto a mí. Cierra los ojos y juntitos recordemos aquellos días de feliz año pasado, cuando tocábamos el cielo con las manos, tu enamorada, tu enamorado, cuando tu cuerpo con mi amor se alimentaba, cuando el invierno era nuestra primavera, cuando reías y también cuando llorabas, como me amaba, como te amaba. ¿Qué tal, mi amor? Nice to see you, Miss Mac. Yo soy rebelde porque el mundo me ha hecho así, porque nadie me ha tratado con amor, porque nadie me ha querido nunca oír. Yo soy rebelde porque siempre sin razón me negaron todo aquello que pedí y me dieron solamente incomprensión. Y quisiera ser como el niño aquel, como el hombre aquel que es feliz. Quisiera dar lo que hay en mí, todo a cambio porque nadie me ha querido nunca. Yo soy rebelde porque siempre sin razón me negaron todo aquello que pedí y me dieron solamente incomprensión. Y quisiera ser como el niño aquel, como el hombre aquel que es feliz. Y quisiera dar lo que hay en mí, todo a cambio de la amistad y cantar y reír. Yo olvidaré y bailar y vivir y ser solo amor.
So, just to let you know,
I am a firm believer that music helps with literacy in all sense of the word. So, as a teacher, I used to sing in the classroom to the students, to the point where my project for my master's turned out to be rapping to instruct vocabulary. So music is something that touches everybody's heart and it helps students learn a new language. Como una promesa, eres tú, eres tú. Como una mañana de verano, como una sonrisa, eres tú, así, así, eres tú. Toda mi esperanza, eres tú, como lluvia fresca en mis manos, como fuerte brisa, eres tú, así, así, eres tú. Eres tú, como el agua de mi fuente. Eres tú, el fuego de mi ciudad. Eres tú, como el agua de mi fuente. Eres tú, el fuego de mi ciudad. Como un poema eres tú, una guitarra en la noche, todo mi horizonte eres tú, así, así, eres tú. Eres tú, como el agua de mi fuente. Eres tú, el fuego de mi vida. El fuego en vida, algo así eres tú. As you get situated, I will repeat my 3 songs, or as many of them. ¿Qué tal, mi amor? Qué sorpresa la de encontrarte. ¿Cómo te va? Hace tiempo que deseaba hablarte para saber algo de ti y sin querer estás aquí junto a mí, ven junto a mí, ven. Cierra los ojos y juntitos recordemos aquellos días de feliz año pasado, cuando tocábamos el cielo con las manos. Yo enamorada, yo enamorado, cuando tu cuerpo con mi amor se alimentaba, cuando el invierno era nuestra primavera, cuando reías y también cuando llorabas, cómo te amabas, cómo te amabas. ¿Qué tal, mi amor? Qué sorpresa la de encontrar. ¿Cómo te va? Hace tiempo que deseaba hablar para saber algo de ti. Y siempre estás aquí junto a mí, ven junto a mí. Cierra los ojos y juntitos recordemos aquellos días de feliz año pasado, cuando tocábamos el cielo con las manos. Yo enamorada, yo enamorado, cuando tu cuerpo con mi amor se alimentaba, cuando el invierno era nuestra primavera, cuando reías y también cuando llorabas, cómo te amabas, cómo te amabas. ¿Qué tal, mi amor? Please come in. Please come in. Please be seated. Please come in and have a seat. have a seat. We'd like to begin momentarily. We have seats up in the front here, please. Come on in.
Okay, yes.
Please have a seat.
Thank you. You just want to sit, I'll sit here, you guys sit there. Okay.
Yes. Uh, just a reminder, please, there's no clips in the auditorium. Thank you. Good morning. Buenos dias. Günaydın. Hoş geldiniz. Welcome. Welcome to MABE 2024. My name is Rabia Hosh. I'm your conference co-director. I'm an associate professor in TESOL, bilingual dual language education at the University of Rhode Island. I'm serving as MABE board secretary, and I'm grateful for such collaborative and collegial community. It's been a pleasure putting this conference together. I especially would like to thank MABE's executive director, Phyllis Hardy. She's the backbone for her continued support and leadership in growing MABE. A big thank you for Laura Perez-Handler and Denise Massari for their endless support in making the conference a success. And thank you, Martha. It's been a pleasure to collaborate with you.
Buenos dias, good morning. My name is Marta Romero. I am the ESL Content Instructional Leader at the New Bedford High School. This is my first time serving as a conference co-chair. And I am to have attendees from Massachusetts, Connecticut, and also New York, North Carolina, Vermont, Virginia, and Wisconsin, all here. Today, I am excited to learn in person, feel of the energy of colleagues and fellow practitioners, and be inspired together. Because we are all teachers of multilingual languages. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all our conference sponsors, especially Providence Public Schools and Vista Higher Learning. We are so pleased to have a record-breaking number of generous sponsors supporting our conference this year. thank you all. Thank you as well to all our presenters. They have blue name tags if you need to recognize them, without which the conference won't be possible. I would also like to recognize all MABE board members and conference committee members who work tirelessly to ensure a more equitable learning opportunity for our multilingual learners. You will see them today wearing a blue shirt and with the MABE logo.
And now I would like to welcome MABE President Aradana Mugambi to the stage.
Thank you all so much for being here today. I would like to borrow from Brown University's land acknowledgement. This conference is being held on lands that are within the ancestral homelands of the Narragansett Indian tribe. We acknowledge that beginning with colonization and continuing for centuries, the Narragansett Indian tribe have been dispossessed of most of their ancestral lands in Rhode Island by the actions of individuals and institutions. We acknowledge that regardless of when our ancestors came here, it is our responsibility to understand and respond to those actions. The Narragansett Indian tribe, whose ancestors stewarded these lands with great care, continues as a sovereign nation today. It is now my pleasure to introduce Angelica Infante Green, Rhode Island Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education. Since her appointment in 2019, she's worked with the Rhode Island Department of Education to release the blueprint for MLL success and a strategic plan that identifies sustained, effective, evidence-based practices to strengthen services outcomes for multilingual learners. Commissioner Infante Green began her career as a bilingual classroom teacher in the South Bronx.
Good morning. Buenos dias. So I'm Angelica Infante Green, and I'm the Commissioner of Education here in Rhode Island. But where my heart lies is being that bilingual teacher in the South Bronx, where I remember my supervisor at the time coming in and asking us to retest the kids. I thought they had done so poorly, and that's why they were asking us that. But that wasn't the reason. The reason is that they had outperformed everyone else. Why? Because it was a dual language classroom. Because they understood at that moment that you didn't have to give up something to get something. And that is the power of being bilingual, multilingual. It is about adding. It's about layering. It's about going in every single direction. At this point, we know learning is not linear. Neither is learning another language. It is a process. But a language is culture. When you ask your kids to leave their culture, you're asking them to leave who they are behind. And we can't do that. I can't walk into this auditorium and be Angelica and then be Angelica at home. I am one person. So being bilingual means being multifaceted. And being bilingual means being strong, at the forefront, moving forward, having pride. That is the work that we do. We don't just teach kids language. We teach them to be proud of who they are. We teach them to outperform everyone. Why? Because they can. And that is the work that we do here together. So thank you very much. Welcome to Rhode Island, and let's enjoy the conference.
Thank you, Commissioner Infante Green. That was a powerful message. I would like to now introduce Dr. Javier Montañez, Superintendent of Providence Public Schools. Dr. Montañez has dedicated nearly his entire career in education to supporting Providence students. First as a teacher at Spaziano Elementary, and then as an assistant principal and principal of Lebanon Dual Language School.
He comes aboard. He is the king of dual language. And it was on purpose that we selected him to be the superintendent of Providence Schools. Because we're sending a message about what's important and what we value. And I could not leave the stage by saying that I'm so happy to see some of my friends from New York here. You guys are in for such a treat. I can't tell you. So I would like the superintendent to take it away and make sure that they leave inspired here today.
Okay. Now, how is it possible that I am going to follow that and I can't wear glasses because I can't even see with my own glasses? But first and foremost, I always say thank you, because anything that we do, and when we do it from the heart, it's possible if we do it together. So, antes de comenzar, le quiero dar las gracias a todos ustedes que están aquí con nosotros hoy, porque esto significa algo muy importante para nosotros, que le estamos enseñando a nuestros niños que están en escuela, que están entrando, que son de diferentes países. Es muy importante porque yo me recuerdo como un niño llegando a la escuela en Nueva York y me dieron solamente un curso, todos los cursos en inglés. No te sabía hablar el español y ahora no te sé hablar inglés. Entonces me quitaron el español, me dieron inglés. Entonces cuando vaya a la escuela superior me dicen, no, tienes que coger otro lenguaje, el francés, francés. Ahora dile a un muchachito que no sabe inglés, español o francés, ¿cómo va a ser en la escuela? Y le digo eso porque sí, lo estamos riendo, es muy importante saber eso. Pero lo que es importante, también conocer quién tú eres. Por ejemplo, le voy a dar un poquito de quién yo soy. La familia de Puerto Rico. Sí. La lista le encanta. Pero también me recuerdo cuando voy de visita, porque no nací en Puerto Rico, no soy puertorriqueño. Cuando estoy en Nueva York me dicen, vete para tu isla. Cuando estoy en la isla, oye, gringo, vete para atrás para allá. Pero conozco a Puerto Rico más que algunos puertorriqueños que viven ahí y los quiero de amor, eso está en mi sangre. ¿Por qué le digo eso? Porque en mi familia yo tengo 5 nietos y nietas. Y en mi casa, cuando tú le pasas por el lado, tú le dices, todas estas banderas. ¿Quién vive aquí? ¿Hay un famoso? No. Tengo la bandera americana, tengo la bandera puertorriqueña, la dominicana y la de Salvador. ¿Por qué? Porque esos son los nietos míos y ellos necesitan saber la sangre que le corre por la vena para que nadie le cambie quién ellos son y de dónde vienen. Es imposible cambiar quién tú eres. So, por favor, nunca dejen que alguien te cambie quién usted. Me llamo Doctor Javier Montañez. No, Montañez. Mountaineer. I had it all. And it's really important for me to say that. You know, I had a speech. I can't even go into the speech because I was inspired the minute I walked in. We are all teachers. I am a teacher at heart. I am who I am today because there's teachers in this audience who helped me become who I am today. There's people who saw something in me that I did not see in myself. There's someone sitting in the front seat. I won't say who because I won't put them on the spot. Filipino. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the first person in the district to see something in me. Over 27, 28 years ago, I had to sit down and speak to this person bigger than life in my eyes. Speak to me in Spanish in my language, and I'm like, I was nervous, I was green, you name it, I was sweating, and she made me feel welcome. So when students go into your classroom, as educators, no matter where you come from, multilingual students, when they come into your classroom, know that they're coming in with a filter, know that they're coming in with baggages. It is our job It is them to see you, and I tell everyone that teachers are lifesavers because they change lives, they transform lives, we're doing the work, we're pushing it forward. I didn't know who I was until a teacher found me. A teacher changed my life. And ever since that, I've been paying it forward. It is never about me, it's always about our kids. Providence right now, 40% of our population are multilingual learners and growing. We have almost doubled our seats in multilingual seats, bilingual seats, and dual language classroom. We went from 1,900 seats in 2018 to almost 1,900 seats coming this year. That's huge. Big round of applause for that. I have to say, and I want to say thank you to everyone associated with MABE, because when I was in, oh great, I gotta go. So I'm sorry, because I don't like to speak a lot, but I want to say thank you for being here. Learn from one another, grow from one another, achieve together, take people's numbers, and go district to this, district to district, or even from wherever you're coming to visit to help one another. Please take away, and I want to say thank you and welcome to Providence.
Thank you, Superintendent Martinez, for your warm welcome to Providence Schools. As part of our 50th year celebration of bilingual education in the region, we would now like to premiere a video depicting the history of bilingual education in Rhode Island and what we hope for the future. A special thanks to the very talented Laura Perez Handler for putting the video together.
In the last 2 years, MABE has explored the 50-year history of bilingual education in our region. At MABE's 2022 conference, we explored how pioneers led legislation supporting bilingual education in Massachusetts. In MABE's 2023 conference, we honored the giants that collaborated with the Department of Education to bring about change. This year, at our MABE 2024 conference, we are reminded of the critical role that communities have in advocating for bilingual education. Rhode Island is unique from other states in the region, not just because Rhode Island is small but mighty, but because advocacy found strength through collaboration, not legislation. Rhode Island valiantly took a more grassroots approach to ensuring the best possible education for its multilingual learners. And that all started with communities working together to create visions for change.
In Rhode Island, in the beginning, the outlook on bilingual education was get them into English as soon as possible. So we had an early exit program. The attitude in Rhode Island has shifted to the language programs where students who are not fluent Spanish are learning Spanish and the students who are fluent in Spanish are learning English, and neither group loses anything but those add on to their knowledge. The research proves that the bilingual brain processes information differently from a monolingual brain, and that ultimately strengthens one's capacity to problem solve and think critically. There are many people who are not involved in dual language, who don't know that research, who don't understand how the program functions, and who can have the misinformation that students are sort of learning half the time, particularly people who are making decisions about the program who may not have ever taught in the program.
When I think back to the early 2000s, I feel as though the Education Alliance at Brown was a really strong driver of external partnerships for schools. We started to develop these organic collaborations, both like within the lab networks and the different regions around the country, which infused the practices and policies that we were trying to develop here in Rhode Island. I was part of a group that was working on something called the Diversity Toolkit. It became a collaboration with other educational labs from around the country who were really doing a lot of important work around funds of knowledge and around thinking about the cultural assets and linguistic assets that families bring, there came an opportunity to be a part of driving the mission and vision of what now has become the International Charter School, what is now our longest standing dual language program in the state. There were so many people who had been doing the work, and one of them is Julie Nora, who is the director of ICS.
The International Charter School is an independent charter school, which allowed us to have a lot of freedoms in terms of, at that time, in 2001, the curricula that we developed as well as the pedagogies. And so we were able to implement 2 dual language programs in our school, and this allowed us to help meet the needs of the immigrant communities as well as those English-speaking families who are interested in each other becoming bilingual. The dual language model is something that allows for the students who are speakers of Spanish and Portuguese, in the case of our program, to build on what they already have with an asset orientation towards their languages and cultures.
So our first fully dual language group started in the fall of 2005, and then when it became a 50-50 model in that student cohort from kindergarten through 3rd grade, by the time they reached 3rd grade and took the state test, they solely responsible for removing the school from corrective action based on their level of success.
Central Falls School District was the first implementer in the state of Rhode Island in 2015 of the Seal of Biliteracy. We mobilized legislatively by going to the State House and proposing bills. We advocated regionally and school district work groups. I could not have done this without the support of my paraprofessional colleagues who were in tune with what it meant to be bicultural and biliterate. It helped folks to see that if a student was literate in one language, there were some transfers that could be made skills-wise, but also belief-wise. There is a deficit thinking that if you speak a language other than English, then you can be considered less than, when actually knowing other languages is something additive, something that enhances you. In 2015, we had 15% of the graduating class of seniors become recipients of the Seal of Biliteracy. By 2017, we increased by 111%. About 5 years after we piloted, the Seal of Biliteracy went into effect statewide. Collaboration amongst educators and communities helped form our current bilingual education landscape. It is important to remember this is in itself a form of advocacy. Advocacy is seen every day by our students and families when they interact with you in your classrooms and schools. Advocacy can be seen when we present at conferences. It is our responsibility to empower educators, students, and communities to find their voice to bravely inspire change.
You know, whenever they would buy, for example, a new reading program, they wouldn't consider what was needed for the bilingual classroom. So we wouldn't get material because it didn't come in Spanish. When I first started in bilingual education, we had to make our own materials. There was nothing out there. I would go to Puerto Rico on a trip or Dominican Republic and come back with, you know, a suitcase full of books because I didn't have reading material in Spanish. That's the kinds of things that we did to adapt our instruction.
It's challenging to be a program within a district that is not entirely dual language. So many of us are constantly advocating for materials, for program considerations, for not over testing in the dominant language, for not imposing one size fits all instructions and directions on how we function, and allowing us to make decisions based on what is best for the program and the students' needs. So there's that level of advocacy. Then there is the school level of advocacy where our team is advocating for students constantly, what they need, how to get what they need, looking for resources in the community, working with the families.
There were other states in the country who had passed the English only laws. And Rhode Island kept trying to, but we just continuously put that pressure on so that it wouldn't pass. So we had this network of people, starting with our professors at Rhode Island College, the administrators in the program itself at the district level, and then teachers. And we then would disseminate the information to parents. Often, were called telling us that we needed to run down to the State House because there was going to be a meeting and they wanted a show of support from the teachers. We would go and get parents to advocate for maintaining a bilingual program. We were just constantly doing whatever we needed to do, writing letters to our representatives to make sure that this law didn't pass in this state.
In that early stage where there was not a state-sponsored seal of biliteracy, advocacy really looked like building relationships with a bunch of people in the network and even people outside of the networks. We leveraged our organizations such as MABE, Rhode Island Teachers of English Language Learners, RightsHeld.
We often faced lack of understanding among other professionals, counselors, social workers, principals, regarding the bilingual program. We were having to advocate for ourselves, for our kids on numerous fronts. So one of the things that I had said was, listen, we have to be on every committee there is. Like if there's a parent engagement committee, we need to be on it. Because if we're not on it, our kids have no voice. Our bilingual teachers raised their hands and said, well, what about us? And they were like, what did I do? Well, where is this in Spanish? We need this in Spanish. And so they fought for that. We extended ourselves into our own community, wherever our school was. We made sure we had representation on the advisory committee to the governor. That was the only way our kids got any kind of representation, was us forcing ourselves into the committee.
Interestingly, there's a lot more policy support now for dual language models, especially with our current commissioner who has really pushed that agenda forward in Rhode Island and kind of officialized it as something that she speaks about as being the best model for students who speak a language other than English at home. That has been helpful in terms of developing people's awareness and understanding.
Overall, Rhode Island is positioned in such a way that we can build high quality dual language programs. What we really need is a statewide coordination of efforts. Since we started advocating for growing dual language programs, there are a few successes that we've seen. So we now have at the Rhode Island Department of Education a world languages and multilingual learner specialist in place. We also have the blueprint for multilingual learner success that came out a couple of years ago. We still have a lot more education to do in terms of educating policymakers and state level leaders about the value of dual language education and what it looks like. We really need to be talking about that in every education decision that's made, especially as our student population becomes more and more mobile.
It's important that you are always advocating for the programs. It's not always the case that the federal or the state requirements will be taking into account the needs at the ground level. I think what can continue to help more is more systematic support of dual language education, where we have advocates who are helping to increase the teacher pipeline, making modifications for some of the legislation that might limit the ability to teach in two languages.
We must share responsibility for cultivating a linguistically diverse teacher workforce by increasing opportunities for educators of multilingual learners.
Looking at the regulations for the certification of bilingual dual language educators and making them a little bit more accessible, because the testing requirements that are pretty much all in English are a huge barrier for us getting more dual language educators certified. Even though they've shown to be highly effective educators, sometimes they're denied certification because they can't pass, for example, a tax ability test or they can't have English. So we're started as a coalition to do a little more targeted outreach to the population.
We need to really start homegrowing our teachers. We need to encourage young people to go into the profession at all, let alone people who are bilingual.
We have been forced to try to innovate, and one really bright light for us has been our paraprofessional teachers who have worked in our school for many, many years and who have decided to pursue a profession of teaching and have been tremendous assets to our teaching team.
So
We have been very strategically recruiting and hiring from the community. They're committed to the children in a very personal way in terms of helping our students succeed, both by becoming bilingual and by honoring their cultures and their backgrounds and their assets that they come with, and helping to guide them to a place where they can give back to the community.
We now have, besides the Coalition for Multilingual Learning, as a subset of that is the Dual Language Network, where all of the schools are connected, as well as the higher education partners that are preparing bilingual language teachers. So we're all working collectively to ensure that we have enough teachers and that young people who grew up in the community who are bilingual and interested in becoming educators have a clear path to also becoming bilingual educators. So we are in a good position, I think, to create that cycle that's necessary to sustain the program.
So if you create the space where you are honoring bilingualism and biculturalism and not bowing to the pressures that will inevitably be placed upon you and the challenges and say, no, it's too hard, we're going to give up. If you continue to fight and little by little, how you're succeeding and growing, it eventually will blossom.
We have amazing students here who are multilingual humans. Every school year could be a dual language school. And we could really just think about the community assets that we have to reshape our educational systems.
If we want success in society, not just in NLL education, but in society at large, then we need to help our students recognize that bilingualism, trilingualism is an asset, and make them proud of that ability, not take that ability away from them. I'm very proud of the fact that former students of mine are doing the kind of work that they're doing. They're all successful, and my hope beyond that is that they'll give back, that they'll encourage their children to speak Spanish. They'll use their power to vote to protect the programs that got them where they are and get involved in the community so that we don't lose that enrichment that bilingualism brings to society. That's what I mean by the fruits of our labor.
We are all educators of multilingual learners. On March 8, 2024, MABE worked to unite partners in bilingual education in the region to inspire productive solutions to teacher licensure challenges. Collaboration through coordinated efforts is critical to change and sustain growth. Join our effort to invest in our bilingual educators and dual language education. Our multilingual learners and families deserve it.
We hope that you enjoy the tribute to both the history of bilingual education in Rhode Island and the individuals that made it possible. Every year, MABE recognizes outstanding lifestyle contributors towards the growth and development of bilingual education. Now, we invite Rosario Johnson, Providence Public Schools Elementary Manager of Bilingual Learner Instruction, to come up and present the first award.
Buenos días, yo soy producto de las escuelas de Providence, nacida en Costa Rica, pero mis padres ecuatorianos, y vine aquí a los Estados Unidos bien pequeña, y estoy agradecida por todo lo que los maestros en ese entonces hicieron por mí en la ciudad de Providence. Hopefully I don't get emotional presenting this award. I have the great honor and privilege of presenting this Lifetime Achievement Award for contributions toward the growth and development of bilingual education in Rhode Island to one of the most passionate and dedicated educators and advocates I have met in Providence schools. Her educational profession began in 1976 as a bilingual teacher.
in the District of Philadelphia. A few years later, she moved to Rhode Island, where she first served as a preschool head teacher in Central Falls before becoming a bilingual ESL teacher in Providence at William DeBate Elementary School. Since then, she has been a champion for educational equity for all students, most especially multilingual learners in their development of bilingualism and biliteracy. She accomplished this in many different ways, but in particular, when she hired highly qualified educators to work with our MLL students in Providence, such as we heard earlier, Dr. Javier Montañez, our current superintendent, and Nelia Fons, the current supervisor of dual language bilingual programs in Providence. There are countless others, as you see them here, supporting her accomplishments. If you have been touched by Linda Filomeno, please stand. Thank you. Linda has served in multiple capacities throughout her career, not just as a bilingual teacher, but also as a bilingual tutor, a LIFT instructional coach for Providence schools, mentoring teachers from all walks of life. She has been an adjunct professor at Rhode Island College, director of literacy and professional development, as well as director of grants and assessments for Woonsocket Education Department. And somehow, through wearing all of these hats, she also found time to be the youth director of La Iglesia Evangélica Hispana, UCC. What awesome servanthood leadership, Linda. If you have ever had the blessing of spending time with her, as I have, you know you have left her presence feeling better about yourself and ready to face the challenges that we encounter as educators. She is a practitioner of genuine hospitality. I believe this is the main reason why she has received the following awards: Rhode Island Teacher of the Year Award in 1992, Milk and Family Foundation Award, Education Award in 1995, El Águila Dorado Community Award in 1993, and the Rhode Island Conference of United Church of Christ Lay Woman of the Year, 1993. Let's welcome Linda Harvey Filomeno with a great applause so that she can receive this Lifetime Achievement Award. Thank you.
And for our second award, please welcome Maria Wilson Portuondo, a MABE past president, to present our next certificate of appreciation.
Good morning, everyone. I met Dr. Maria Pacheco at Brown University in 1992, and since then we have been colleagues and friends. It is hard to capture Dr. Pacheco's journey and contribution in the field of education in a 2-minute presentation, but there are a few things that I would like to highlight today. Dr. Maria Pacheco, who came from the Azores as a young woman, represents in many ways the American dream. But more important is that she dedicated her career to the field of bilingual, multiculturalism, and equity pedagogy to educate and support students and teachers so they could also reach their dreams. In addition to being one of the developers and co-authors of the Diversity Kit, which was mentioned in the film we just saw, sorry, I lost my space. she also did some work in Brown University, where she was the principal investigator and director of 10 projects funded by the Department of Education. And I would like to share those with you. One was Project Engage, that supported Rhode Island elementary teachers in obtaining a master's in ESL and ESL certification. Project Journey, which supported Rhode Island high school STEM teachers at Brown University's master's in ESL and cross-cultural studies and ESL certification. Project Apprentice, which supported Rhode Island middle school science and math teachers at Brown University masters in ESL and cross-cultural studies and ESL certification. Project Building Charter School Capacity to Serve English Learners, which supported 500 charter school teachers in Massachusetts to obtain a Massachusetts ESL endorsement. Project Call to Lead Middle and Call to Lead High, which supported middle and high school teachers in a master's in ESL and ESL certification. Project Career Ladder Professional Development Programs for Latino, paraprofessionals and teacher assistants from Rhode Island. Project Career Ladder Professional Development Program for Southeast Asian professionals and teachers assistants. Project Response, which supported the preparation of K-5 ESL bilingual teachers. Project Cadre, which supported the preparation of K-12 ESL and bilingual teachers. And Project Praise, which supported Rhode Island administrators and urban core in the Masters and ESL and cross-cultural studies. So you can see here leadership, advocacy, and the care for teachers and students. And I would also like to ask, who here participated in any of these projects that were part of Maria Pacheco's leadership? If you'd like to stand for a second so we can see. I know that she bumped into many of you on the way. Thank you. So this is just a glimpse of who Dr. Pacheco is. I hope you have an opportunity to meet her, to talk with her, to get to know her. And so it is with honor that I'd like to award Dr. Pacheco this certificate of appreciation for all her work.
Now, our MABE Executive Director, Phyllis Harvey, will introduce our last award of the afternoon.
Thank you. For our last award, we recognize Arthur Cho in recognition of his outstanding contributions toward advocacy for the national expansion of the Seal of Biliteracy. Arthur is the founder and managing director for Academic Learning Company, which operates sealofbiliteracy.org, Dual Language Schools, and Velazquez Press. Arthur has helped out our country's different states establish their state seal of biliteracy. He personally supported MABE and the Language Opportunity Coalition passed the state seal of biliteracy in Massachusetts as part of the Look Act in 2017. We especially thank Arthur for all his work now that the last state of the country, South Dakota, has recently passed the legislation for the state seal of biliteracy. You might think that would slow him down, but knowing Arthur, he will continue with his fast pace of advocacy for biliteracy and dual language programs, promoting education equity for English language learners and multilingual learners, and encouraging multilingualism and preparing every student to become a global citizen. Arthur, we also offer you this certificate of appreciation for all of your work.
Now it is my pleasure to introduce our keynote speakers for this year's events, Dr. Joan LaChance and Andrea Honigstad. Joan LaChance is an associate professor in teaching English as a second language at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. and is the director of the Graduate Certificate Masters in Teaching and Undergraduate Minor Programs in TESOL. Andrea Honigstall is the professor in the School of Education and Human Services at Malloy College, Rockville Center, New York, where she teaches graduate courses related to cultural and linguistic diversity. They have published numerous journal articles and books, including their best-selling book, Collaboration and Co-Teaching for Dual Language Learners, Transforming Programs for Multilingualism and Equity. They have also presented their work at dual language conferences across the country, including La Cosecha, the International Conference on Immersion and Dual Language Education, MABE, CABE, and MABE's annual Dual Language Conference. Joan and Andrea.
Good morning, buenos dias. Good morning. Thank you all so much for having us. As we were introduced, I'm Joan, and this is my colleague and friend, Andrea.
Good morning, everyone.
We're just really appreciative to have time with you all and be a part of the amazing conference. So welcome. I'm gonna also thank, in addition to the MABE board, my technology friend in the back, Laura. Thank you. She's in the little room, and we're gonna cross both fingers, both hands, both toes. Everybody do that for us. The technology goes as planned. Okay. Success with the clicker. Our objectives today, because we're teachers, we all need objectives, right? We want to establish a strong rationale for collaboration. We know that you all know what we're talking about. This is another thing we want to say right up front. We're here to help give you tools to pass along. We know we're not here to convince you of anything, so thank you for that right away. We also want to really look at effective collaborative configurations in the context of dual language, because we know how unique our contexts are and the needs of our students. We're going to help you make connections between collaboration and the pillars of dual language education. And finally, look at, thank you. I'm not a karaoke person, can you tell? Explore how collaboration creates a pathway for formal and informal professional learning, which is part of our conference theme. So that's where we're headed. Our resources are here. We build on a lot of work from a lot of scholars across the country and across the world, and we want to acknowledge that. Our collaboration and co-teaching book, thank you Corwin Press for helping us make this a bestseller. Also, we just came out with another publication, Breaking Down the Monolingual Wall. I don't know, Andrea, I think they might be raffled at the raffle table, so heads up. And also the guiding principles of dual language education, and again, the 4 pillars of dual language education. We're going to go into those a little bit more in depth in a moment. Did you know, there are a lot of things that we know you already know, but we would love for you to ask your colleagues and non-dual language people that are out there waiting for us. Did you know that there are over 350 named languages and dialects spoken in the United States? And that's to all the unnamed languages that we have as multilingual people. It's never too late to learn a new language, as in it is never too late. That myth of it's only for elementary school kids, it's a myth. Multilingual is the norm across the world, and over 3,600 dual languages programs exist in the United States. And right here in Rhode Island, right in this northeastern region, we're building more and more. So help us spread the word and ask your colleagues. Did you know?
Before we get into these essential questions, I also wanted to ask you, did you know that the most frequently used word before we came on stage was collaboration? I kept counting how many times it showed up in the movie, in the previous speakers, recognitions, the awards, and so forth. And also, did you know that that person who saw something in me many, many years ago, over a decade and a half ago, was Angelica Infante? So thank you. Angelica at that time was in charge of the New York City Office of English Language Acquisition, or something like that. That was the title. Close enough, right? And she was the first one who saw that, wait a minute, we have to stop the student segregation. We have to stop pulling out the children and creating this fragmented, disjointed kind of service delivery. And she was the first one who invited at that time. I did not know Joan yet. Sorry, Joan. That's okay. At that time with Maria Dove to work with New York City educators, 800 of them. I was so in awe of that vision and that powerful change that Angelique brought to the New York City system and then to New York State also. So yes, we do go back a long, long time, and I'm so very happy to see you. So you did not know that. But also, these are our essential questions that we wanted to explore with you. Why collaborate in case anybody here needs to be persuaded further, or maybe you need to bring that back to your schools. Why collaboration is essential, why it is not one more thing on your plate, why collaboration is something that holds up everything else. So collaboration is your plate. I already answered that question, sorry, Joe. I know we have a very short period of time. Now, how do the pillars of dual language shape and leverage our collaborative work is something that we're going to touch upon. What might collaborative partnerships look like in the dual language context? And finally, how do we create sustained collaborative practices that will lead to formal and informal teacher learning? So this is where we're really keeping our fingers crossed. So we didn't want to just leave this out. Some of you are already holding up your phones. Great. You know what's happening. Good job. So we designed an answer garden. Please grab that. To be on a laptop or your QR code reader is not working. You can also just go to answergarden.ch/407-1498. And that means over 4 million times was this tool used in the world. If you have never used Answer Garden, here's a little bit of a bonus for you. There's a question there, and in a moment we're going to project what you are telling us. That's right. Thank you so much. As we are collaborating, keep them coming. You can add your own answers, or you have to keep refreshing at the bottom right corner. There is a refresh button.
Right here, Laura.
All right, that's it. That's it.
There
Thank
we
you
go.
so much. So every few seconds, if you refresh it, we really want to hear from all of you. So you can participate in two ways. Add your own ideas or amplify somebody else's ideas by retyping what they said. And we're going to populate this answer garden, putting all your answers up there to recognize that collaboration is complex. This is not easy. You're not giving one single answer that you need. You are giving us hundreds of answers that are necessary. But at the same time, what jumps off the page for you or off the screen for you, Joan?
Yeah, and this is the most common thing, time. It's really literally and metaphorically a 4-letter word, right? Open-mindedness, supporting, communication, trust, empathy, resources, relationships, communication, outstanding. Thanks, Laura, for your help with that. So we'll just keep populating it over and over, and as time goes on, we'll share the larger results. Okay, back to Joan with her clicker. Thank you. So the big picture for collaboration. Why collaborate? Why collaborate? It seems like a common sense answer. We're going to give you a few more tools to help answer it a little further.
Something that has been around now for over 2 decades, the 21st century skills for our students, the 4 C's right there: critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and creativity. So how are we supposed to nurture those skills if we're not practicing that? So right there, this is something that informs our work.
Benefits of bilingualism. We are all examples of the benefits sitting here today, us too on the stage. OELA, we know there's been a shift recently with the Office of English Language Acquisition being back with Title III. Yay! And they also recognize that we need to collaborate so that we can work together to achieve this notion that multilingualism is in fact a superpower. I'm just going to give you a hint. There will be a webinar, a two-part series webinar that OELA is hosting about this topic coming up in May. And MABE may be participating in some way, hint, hint. So please, we'll be sending out all of that information. We would love to see you online with us in May.
We also had to bring John Hattiesworth here for a moment because he was the one to recognize after his initial work on effect sizes ended at 1.2, he revisited his research, added some other variables, and found, as you can see, off the chart, collective teacher efficacy. The shared belief that we can do better and more for our students is literally off the chart at 1.6. Here's a recent quote from him. He wrote the sequel to his original work, which is a meta-analysis of meta-analyses, in which he recognized that, as you can see, we highlighted, teachers want to be engaged, to enhance their mindsets, work more collaboratively with colleagues, and so forth. So when we see collaboration, we immediately get very excited. As you can see, that's an occupational hazard, looking for collaboration everywhere, and see this validation in leading research publications out there. And in our book recently, we were part of this Breaking Down the Monolingual Wall volume, which has 8 different chapters of 8 different ways of breaking down that monolingual myth and monolingual bias. And our focus is on creating a collaborative instructional cycle. Even if you don't co-teach, if you partnership teach in a dual language context, but you collaboratively engage in co-planning, co-assessment, and reflection.
In our current era, we also would really like to emphasize and come to the forefront again with, it is not time to build walls. It is time to build bridges. Instructionally, emotionally, educationally, in our society, build the bridge.
So, time for another attempt at technology integration. You know how to do it. Scan the QR code or go to menti.com. The code will be 13236554. So there are 2 ways to participate. And this will be sort of a rating scale. We're asking this audience and also those who are in the overflow room. I hope that you're collaborating and participating.
Hello, cafeteria. We hope you're cheering.
So you're going to decide on these 5 dimensions whether you strongly disagree and so forth or strongly agree, and the results will be live and updating as you are participating. So it's a little different from Mentimeter. Now we hope that it's going to work. So 1 more second for you to scan that QR code, and then we're going to be ready to share the results that are live as you are. All right, very good.
Woo-hoo!
Great.
Awesome.
Keep them coming, and if you watch, it's going to jump hopefully automatically. That's what it should do.
Maybe refresh.
Oh yeah,
Yep,
there
it goes.
Okay,
Thanks, Startup.
I guess we have to refresh it. Sometimes it updates automatically.
Wow. Look at the pattern, Andrea.
Yes.
Okay, so we know this guides our work, right? We're literally having like a formative assessment with you guys, right? This minute in front of your eyes. We know we have work to do with helping administrators understand the importance of collaboration in dual language. We know we have work to do with structuring time, T-I-M-E, el tiempo. Necesitamos el tiempo para hacer el trabajo. Absolutely. Okay, this is pretty good that your colleagues work well together. It doesn't mean you have to like each other all the time. That's okay. You just have to work well together. We'll keep talking about that. I think it's fair to say that when educators collaborate, everyone benefits. We also model this for our students. They need to learn how to collaborate with each other and with us. Awesome.
So what I like to see here is that the vision is there. That's the last element on this rating scale. So we have that strong shared belief, the strong vision for it, but then the actions have to follow that. And those are the dimensions of how we can shift cultures, shift norms in our educational
context. So since you mentioned that you don't have to be friends,
Right.
yeah. So one way that we like to look at it is that you have to create strong bonds and partnerships. So we're going to give you a homework assignment, even though we know that we're in absolutely no position to give anybody homework.
Right.
But we're going to give it to you anyway. And that homework assignment is to recognize your partnerships every single day, to offer a professional information. In other words, compliment each other, but not complimenting on the hair or on the outfit. That's nice. That's going to build friendship.
Yes.
But to build partnerships, you're going to compliment each other on professional affirmations, on what you noticed about your colleague that you work with.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dara. We're gonna hop back in.
I'm married to a therapist, I forgot to tell you that. So I stole this idea from family therapy, so you get two for the price of one.
Right? How do the pillars of dual language education shape and leverage our collaborative work? So we talk about this, and we want to make sure that we put it into action. We really need to acknowledge the impact of this document, the guiding principles for dual language education, published by the Center for Applied Linguistics. This is the 3rd edition. I'm sure there will be another edition. Liz Howard, I know you're here somewhere in the audience. Liz, thank you so much. Your work and this has changed our field in such a beneficial way, and we are so really honored to collaborate with you as well. And Shara, you're going to get so much fun Tamara teaching stuff from them too. So thank you guys. We're really appreciative. You're probably familiar with these 3 pillars: high academic achievement, bilingualism and biliteracy, and sociocultural competence. All of these 3 now, we're adding in this notion of a 4th pillar about critical consciousness and understanding equity and justice within our dual language education programs. That's why we do the work. Also, the students whom we serve are really, really impacted when we have critical consciousness. So people ask us all the time, well, what's the difference between sociocultural competence and critical consciousness? It's one thing to know about something. It's another thing to then act on what you know. So the critical conscious layer here is asking us collectively, we have to collaborate to advocate, embrace discomfort, interrupt the inequities, move forward with asking ourselves, are we staying quiet when we know we should say something in an advocating way to move our students forward? So be critically conscious in your thinking and in your actions. These pillars shape our work daily. We want them to help us maintain continuity of bridged instruction. So rather than having these 2 parallel monolingual frames of thought, we want to mesh them together for a dynamic, multidimensional, bilingual approach to education. We have to integrate this across our curricula. We need to integrate content, language, literacy, socio-emotional development, and always looking for authentic assessment practices. That's a whole nother keynote. That's a whole nother semester course or lifetime of work if you're Margot Gottlieb, right? And we need to co-create learning experiences, co-create learning experiences and assessments with critical consciousness at the forefront. Really, really important of how that shapes our work. We have action steps. We just saw in the Mentimeter, we have some work to do. We need to look at our existing policies. We know that you're doing that. And then figure out who are the stakeholders that make these decisions and how do we bring them together at the table so that they can help us shape our pedagogies and our practices. So many people forget how policy impacts the actual classroom. It does, heavily. We have to have shared understandings of how we implement these critically conscious pedagogies. And here's where the conversations can sometimes be a little bit uncomfortable. And we have to embrace that and say, okay, well, how are we going to do this? How are we going to focus on practices that bridge language and content across all of our classrooms? Within a program language that we leverage this cross-linguistic transfer and we really understand what that means and act on that. The last thing here is making space, making time and making space to honor and build upon students' full linguistic repertoires so that they never forget who they are. Thank you, Dr. Montañez, for saying that. They need to always remember who they are and be proud, not just tolerated. Talk a lot about tolerance, but they need to be honored for their identities and their full linguistic repertoires. So as we keep going, we also know that the 4 pillars really need to shape the way our state and district-wide collaboration takes place. So every time we talk about a professional learning situation, we have to ask ourselves, how are the 4 pillars represented? Not are they, but how are they represented?
So we want to take you across the United States and beyond in our book, as well as with some examples here. First, we're going to take you to Illinois for a moment, where District 54 created what they call the 54 Promise. What we appreciated about it is that they translated the 4 pillars. They understood their local context and local challenges and needs, and they created a pathway for successful leadership and implementation practices. So you could see here is the team that we worked with. That went a little fast, sorry. And we want to acknowledge that collaboration reaches not just at the classroom level, but to the school level, to the district level. So collaborative leadership is also needed for collaboration to be translated into daily practice and for educators to develop ownership. We have visited a lot of states.
Yes.
I think I combined, it's at about 40 states that we visited with this topic. And if you were to ask us where have we seen the strongest, most successful, most impactful collaboration, we would not tell you a location. Instead, we would tell you where people develop ownership of the practice.
So what do they look like? What do these partnerships look like in dual language?
Well, first we want to ask you, where are you on that law bridge when it comes to collaboration? This is from Pick Wilson, British psychologist. So what does collaboration look like in your schools? Share with your colleagues in about 5 seconds where you are on that law bridge.
Who's over here? Who's here? Who's over here? Right? This was me this morning. This was me this morning.
So, we're hoping so first of all, we're practicing multimodality, right? We're practicing visual literacy here. We're making meaning based on visual input, visual representation. We see you got very excited, but you see a lot of laughter and probably very serious conversations come out just from simply looking at this prompt. And we often even invite educators to try this at the beginning of the year, midpoint in the year, at the end of the year. We've heard from educators like, yeah, on Monday I'm on top of the tree. By Friday, I need a little help to just get out there. We also heard from educators that I'm the one that feels like an attachment, but I'm not organically part of the tree, that my program is an afterthought. We hope nobody's jumping or nobody's getting thrown out there.
We put ourselves on this tree here But we also wanted to say part of the reason that we're there is not because we avoid conflict. We actually embrace disagreements because that's the depth of a true collaborative relationship. It's not avoiding the conflict, it's how you resolve it. How can we come together and compromise?
And complement each other.
And complement each other, absolutely. So you can see here, there's no one set recipe. There's no one set configuration. Based on the number of bilingual teachers that districts may or may not have access to, sometimes we have to put people together in partnerships to make both languages come to life in the program. And there are not enough, we know there are not enough fully bilingual teachers in the world, especially in the United States. And so we're asking you to really understand that when you have this many configurations, collaboration is the way to make this work.
So just a couple of quick examples for you. We're going to take you now to Worcester in Massachusetts, and this team, Bridget and Jessica, are showcased in our publication because they forged a multi-year partnership in which one teacher is the ESL, the educator, the other teacher is the Spanish partner teacher, and they're supporting the students through sustained collaboration, co-planning protocols, a daily lesson routine, a weekly lesson routine that they create. So even though they don't have a lot of time, they certainly have achieved great success with their students.
Absolutely, and they stick to this routine. When they get together, they protect their time and their communication. Speaking of time, we're keeping an eye on the clock, so we're gonna just keep going forward. We had a video to share, but I think we're gonna keep going. So how does sustained collaboration leverage formal and informal teacher learning? Because this is an ongoing process, it's never done, and that's good. That's good because we always grow and change. So we ask each other the hard questions. We make space for figuring out what do we need to do next, and understand and embrace that the questions should keep coming. Otherwise, things get stale. What do we need to do now to co-create pathways for formal and informal professional learning about collaboration in our context? Because we saw for the Mentimeter, we have work to do. We ask, how do these dual language teachers leverage their work with everyone else, whether it's an ESL or TESOL teacher, a non-dual language teacher, if you're a program within a larger school? We're all teachers of multilingual learners, so we need to keep opening and widening these spaces for dual language educators and students to come together and be affirmed. One quick story that I wanted to take you to with this is a school in Allsip, Chicago, which is a suburb of, Allsip, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. They have an entire staff of monolingual ESL teachers who cross over and collaborate with the dual language teachers. Here's the bridge. So they bridge their activities, their scaffolds, so that everyone in the whole school is having access to language development and content development in the same way. They use a common planning protocol, they have a biliteracy coach, and they have an ESL coach who liaisons across grade levels, both vertically and horizontally.
Now we're also going to take you for a moment to Atlanta Public Schools. They just this year had an inaugural year-long dual language collaboration institute, and this was their overarching 10-step program that they developed. And again, what I mentioned earlier, the ownership. Everywhere we take you, from Worcester to Allsip to Atlanta, everybody interprets the need for collaboration slightly differently and also enact collaboration differently. Here is another pacing guide that they developed. They had a Google Classroom in which they read our book, 6 chapters, 6 modules, and they had a study system that they implemented to have that shared understanding built among the educators. And this was our closing activity just a few days ago. What I really appreciated about it is that the teachers chose whether they wanted to complete the task in Spanish or in English.
And then we did a translanguaging activity because we presented in the opposite language. So there was full access for everybody, and you see the teacher teams, the partnerships working together. Interestingly, almost identical concerns or obstacles were identified, and then we use this comment saying that whatever gets in the way becomes the way. So how do you turn your obstacles, your challenges into possible pathways to success? So the answer is in the room. The ownership is there in that particular context.
I think when you came in, you all received a pair of glasses.
And then Angelica already showed
And
us how to
Angelica
put
already
them
showed
on.
hers. Yes. So if you'll please take them out and put them on. I'm going to be blind for a moment. If I fall off the stage, somebody catch me.
And you might be wondering, what do they have to do with our plenary here, with our keynote? So what's our task, Joan?
Andrea, I can't see anything except green.
Okay, so if you are wearing heart-shaped glasses, your prompt for us, for asking to reflect is one reason you love collaborating with other dual language educators. If you're wearing the star-shaped glasses, please think about how dual language educators with whom you collaborate are stars because, or students are stars because, and if you have the shamrock, then why are we lucky to have each other in dual language education? With whom can we collaborate?
So let's do that.
Let's do that. Reflect or share. We have 30 seconds to do this?
Yep.
All right. Remember those professional affirmations and share with each other.
So as we get ready to turn you loose for the rest of the exciting day, we want you to leave here asking yourselves, what pathways are we going to co-create? How can we have sustained collaboration in dual language education? We're all teachers of multilingual learners, and we thank you so very much.
Thank you, Joan and Andrea. We have a special thank you as a gift, as a token of our appreciation. And today is also Andrea's birthday, so we should sing her happy birthday. So maybe we should sing her happy birthday. Yes. To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Andrea. Happy birthday to you. Good job. Okay, we have a few housekeeping notes before we send you off to your first session. Oh, and
Feliz cumpleaños a ti. Feliz cumpleaños a ti.
okay, so first of all, did you download the Sked app? I hope you did. You can go to mobinet2024.sked.com or scan your QR code on your name tag to access your schedule, the Wi-Fi password, and more. Volunteers are wearing blue Mobi shirts, so they can also help you navigate. If you haven't yet, hurry and make your schedule on Sked. Each session has a limited capacity, and per fire safety guidelines, we may need to direct some attendees to a different session when the classroom is full. This year, we won't have access to the loudspeakers, so please keep an eye on time. The cafeteria is on the first floor. There are 2 lunch waves. First lunch is for those with a blue ticket, and second lunch is for red ticket holders. Lunch tickets will be collected at the entrance of the cafeteria. You are also invited to participate in lunchtime talks, so please keep an eye on the schedule. Registrants can also visit sponsored exhibitor tables, as well as the raffle table. The red and white tickets are for the raffle during the unassigned lunch wave. Please do not forget to join us for the closing ceremony. We have a very special, nationally known guest speaker coming to join and celebrate with us. So the first session begins in 10 minutes. Please make your way to your first session. Go learn, network, and have fun.